3 weeks after the inspection, Jake Martinez was eating breakfast in his quarters when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his coffee and ran to the bridge in less than 30 seconds. The sight that greeted him made his blood run cold. "Report," he ordered as he slid into his captain's chair. "Sir, we have 30 Corvin warships at the edge of our solar system," Danny Cooper said from his station. "They just appeared out of hyperspace 5 minutes ago." Jake looked at the main screen. The alien fleet was arranged in a perfect formation, their crystal hulls gleaming like deadly jewels against the black of space. Each ship was 3 times larger than the Defiance, and their weapons could probably destroy a planet. "Any communication from them?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. Admiral Zethkar is demanding to speak with Earth Command immediately. Put him through to Admiral Sullivan at headquarters, and get me a full tactical analysis of their fleet." Lisa Thompson ran onto the bridge, still putting on her uniform jacket. "Captain, I am reading massive energy signatures from those ships. Their weapons are charging. How long before they can fire? They can fire right now if they want to. But, sir, they are not aiming at us. They are aiming at Earth." Jake felt his stomach drop. 30 ships with planet-killing weapons pointed at his home world. This was not a military exercise or a show of force. This was an invasion. The communication screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Kate Sullivan at Earth Command. She was a tough woman who had fought in 3 wars and never lost a battle. But even she looked worried as she stared at the reports flooding her screens. "Jake, we have a problem," she said without any greeting. "The Corvins are demanding complete surrender of all human military forces and immediate handover of our mining operations." "What did you tell them?" "I told them to go to hell. But Jake, we only have 12 ships in the entire fleet, and most of them are on patrol duty in other systems. The Defiance is the only military vessel within 3 days of Earth." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was running calculations on her engineering console. Danny was checking weapon systems. Amy was analyzing the alien fleet formation. They all knew what was coming. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Kate Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see her weighing options that all ended badly. Earth's defense satellites would last maybe 10 minutes against Corvin weapons. The planet's shields could protect major cities for a few hours, at most. "Jake, I need you to buy us time. Keep that fleet busy while we evacuate the orbital stations and try to get our other ships back to Earth." "How much time do you need?" 72 hours minimum." Jake looked at the 30 enemy warships on his screen. Each one could probably destroy his ship with a single shot. The entire Corvin fleet had enough firepower to sterilize every planet in human space. "Understood, Admiral. The Defiance will engage the enemy and hold them as long as possible." "Jake," Kate's voice was soft now, "you know this is a suicide mission." "Maybe, but maybe not. We have been preparing for this day for 3 years. After ending the communication with Earth Command, Jake opened a channel to the Corvin fleet. Admiral Zethkar's face appeared on the main screen. The alien leader looked even more arrogant than during his inspection visit. "Captain Martinez," Zethkar said with what might have been amusement, "I see you have received our message to your government." "I have, and I have a message for you." "Really? Are you here to discuss surrender terms?" "No. I am here to tell you to leave our space immediately." The sound that came from Zethkar might have been laughter. It was a harsh clicking noise that hurt human ears. Jake could hear similar sounds coming from other Corvin officers in the background. "Captain, you are aware that I have 30 warships and you have 1? "I can count." "Then surely you understand that resistance is pointless. Your primitive vessel cannot possibly stand against the might of the Corvin hegemony." Jake stood up from his chair and walked closer to the screen. He wanted the alien admiral to see his face clearly when he delivered his next words. "Admiral Zethkar, this is Captain Jake Martinez of the Human Defense Fleet. You have entered our space without permission and threatened our home world. I am ordering you to withdraw immediately. And if we refuse, then you will discover why humans are the only species in the galaxy that has never been conquered." This statement seemed to surprise the alien admiral. His 4 eyes moved independently as he processed what the human had just said. "Captain, Your species has existed in space for only 5 years. The Corvan hegemony has ruled this sector for over 1,000 years. We have conquered 47 different worlds. Your threats are meaningless. Then why are you still talking? If we are so helpless, why not just attack? Zethkar paused. Jake could see other Corvan officers moving around in the background of the transmission. They seemed to be having some kind of discussion. Very well, Captain Martinez. Since you insist on this pointless gesture, I will give you one final chance. Surrender now, and your crew will be allowed to live as prisoners. Continue this foolishness, and I will destroy your ship and everyone on it. Counteroffer, Jake said. Leave now, and I will not destroy your entire fleet. The clicking laughter from the Corvan bridge was so loud that Jake had to turn down the volume on his speakers. It went on for almost a full minute. Destroy our fleet? Zethkar finally managed to say. Captain, do you understand what you are facing? Each of my ships carries weapons that could level your largest cities. My flagship alone has more firepower than your entire planetary defense grid. Impressive. But you are forgetting something important. Which is? You are not fighting our planetary defense grid. You are fighting me. Jake cut the transmission before the alien could respond. He turned to face his crew who had been listening to the entire exchange. Well, people, you heard the man. 30 ships against 1. Anyone want to request a transfer? Lisa laughed. Captain, I have spent 3 years turning this ship into something that should not exist. I want to see if it actually works. I have been designing ammunition specifically for Corvan crystal armor, Danny added. This is my chance to field test it. I have run every simulation possible, Amy said. The odds are not good, but they are not impossible either. Jake nodded. He had the best crew in the human fleet, and they had been preparing for this moment since the day the Defiance was launched. Lisa, bring all systems online. Danny, load special ammunition in all weapons. Amy, I want continuous tactical analysis of their formation. Aye, sir, all 3 responded. Jake opened a ship-wide communication channel. All hands, this is the captain. In approximately 10 minutes, we will engage a Corvan fleet of 30 warships. Our mission is to protect Earth and buy time for reinforcements to arrive. He paused, thinking about what to say next. These people had volunteered to serve on the strangest ship in the human fleet. They deserved to know what they were really fighting for. The aliens think we are primitive and weak. They think our technology is crude and our tactics are stupid. They have never been in a real fight with humans, so they do not understand what we are capable of when we are angry. Jake could hear crew members moving through the corridors, running to their battle stations. The ship's automated systems were coming online one by one. Today, we are going to teach the Corvan hegemony a lesson that will echo through the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. We are going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity. The tactical display showed the enemy fleet moving into attack formation. Their ships moved with mechanical precision like pieces on a chessboard. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. This is not going to be like the training simulations. This is real, and some of us might not make it home. But I promise you this. If we die today, we will die fighting, and we will take as many of them with us as possible. Jake sat back down in his captain's chair and strapped himself in. Around him, his crew was making final preparations for battle. The bridge lights dimmed to combat settings and emergency force fields activated around critical stations. Captain, Danny reported, all weapons loaded and ready. I have surprises loaded in tubes 1 through 8. Engineering ready, Lisa called out. All systems showing green. Backup power systems are standing by. Tactical analysis complete, Amy announced. I have identified target priorities and weak points in their formation. Jake looked at the main screen one more time. 30 enemy ships against 1 human vessel that looked like it had been built in a garage. The Corvans were probably placing bets on how quickly they could destroy the primitive human warship. They were about to learn that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history turning disadvantages into advantages. Earth's gravity was higher than most planets, so humans were stronger. Earth's weather was more violent than most worlds, so humans were more adaptable. Earth's history was more brutal than most species could imagine, so humans were better at war. All stations report ready for combat, Jake announced. Danny, target their lead ship. Lisa, give me everything the engines have got. Amy, start tracking their movement patterns. The Corvin fleet was close enough now that Jake could see individual weapon ports on their crystalline hulls. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Together, they represented the most advanced military force in known space. But they had never fought humans before, and humans had a saying that the aliens were about to learn the hard. The first thing most aliens never understood about humans was their relationship with broken things. While other species threw away, damaged equipment, and bought new replacements, humans kept fixing the same tools for decades. They had turned repair work into an art form and backup systems into a religion. Jake Martinez had learned this lesson from his grandfather, who had kept a 200-year-old truck running with spare parts and determination. His grandfather used to say that anything could be fixed if you were stubborn enough and creative enough to make it work. The HSS Defiance was built on that philosophy. Where alien ships had one perfect system for each function, the human warship had 3 or 4 different ways to accomplish the same task. Where alien vessels relied on elegant integration, the Defiance used crude redundancy and brute force. Engineering. Lisa, give me a full status report on our modifications, Jake ordered as the Corvin fleet continued to close distance. All systems are green, Captain, Lisa Thompson replied from her engineering station. The kinetic weapons are loaded and ready. The backup power systems are online. The emergency repair systems are standing by. Lisa had spent 2 years installing what she called impossible systems throughout the ship. The weapons alone were a masterpiece of human stubbornness. While aliens used energy weapons that required complex focusing crystals and particle accelerators, humans had built guns that fired chunks of metal really, really fast. The railguns were simple in concept, but devastating in practice. Magnetic coils accelerated solid projectiles to tremendous speeds using nothing more than electrical power. The ammunition was cheap, the weapons were reliable, and they worked even when everything else on the ship was broken. Danny, what kind of special loads do we have ready? Jake asked his weapons officer. Well, sir, I have been working on this project since the day we launched, Danny Cooper said with a grin. Tubes 1 and 2 are loaded with kinetic penetrators, designed specifically for crystal armor. Tubes 3 and 4 have cluster rounds that split into multiple projectiles. Tubes 5 and 6 carry electromagnetic pulse warheads. Danny had come from a family of weapon designers. His great-grandfather had built artillery for Earth's last World War. His grandfather had designed the first space-based defense systems. His father had created the targeting computers that guided Earth's orbital platforms. Danny himself had gone beyond all of them. He had studied every piece of available data on Corvin military technology and designed ammunition specifically to exploit their weaknesses. And Tubes 7 and 8? Jake asked. Those are my special surprises, sir. I would rather not explain them until we see how they work. Dr. Amy Foster looked up from her science station where she had been analyzing the approaching enemy fleet. Captain, I have completed my tactical assessment of their formation. Amy was the strangest member of Jake's crew. She had 3 different degrees in physics, 2 in engineering, and 1 in military history. She could calculate orbital mechanics in her head and had read every battle report filed by human forces in the past 50 years. What did you find? Jake asked. The Corvin ships are arranged in what they call a star formation. It is designed to provide maximum firepower while maintaining perfect defensive coverage. Each ship protects the vessels next to it, and they can concentrate their energy weapons on any target. Sounds like good tactics. It would be against any other species, but they have never fought an opponent that uses kinetic weapons. Their formation is designed to deflect energy beams, not solid projectiles. Amy pulled up a three-dimensional display of the enemy fleet. The 30 Corvin ships were arranged in a complex pattern that looked like a giant snowflake made of crystal. Daggers. Captain, their biggest advantage is also their biggest weakness. Those ships are so perfectly designed that they have no backup systems. Disable the primary crystal matrix on any vessel, and the entire ship becomes powerless. This was the fatal flaw that Amy had discovered during months of study. The Corvin hegemony had built their entire military around technology that never failed. Their ships had never needed redundant systems because their crystal cores had never stopped working. But humans knew that everything breaks eventually. They designed their equipment assuming that it would be damaged, shot at, and generally abused. The Defiance had backup systems for its backup systems. Lisa, how many different ways can we fire our weapons if the main power goes out? Let me see, Lisa said, checking her engineering displays. We have the primary fusion reactor, 2 backup fusion reactors, battery power, emergency chemical generators, and if all else fails, I can rig up a hand crank system. A hand crank? Hey, it worked for my grandfather's submarine. Jake had to admire his crew's dedication to the principle of redundancy. They had prepared for every possible failure mode, including some that were completely ridiculous. Captain, Danny called out, the lead Corvin ships are moving into weapons range. I am reading massive energy buildup in their primary arrays. Amy, what can you tell me about their targeting systems? They use a combination of gravitational sensors and quantum field detection. Very sophisticated, very accurate, and completely dependent on their main computer systems. Which means if we can disrupt their sensors, they will have trouble hitting us. Jake smiled. This was why he had requested Amy for his crew. She could find the weak point in any system, no matter how advanced it appeared. Danny, do we have anything that can interfere with their targeting? Actually, yes, sir. Those EMP warheads. I mentioned we'll create electromagnetic interference, and I loaded some of our missiles with metallic chaff that should confuse their sensors. Perfect. Lisa, I need you to prepare for emergency power management. When this fight starts, I want maximum power to weapons and engines. Aye, sir. But Captain, if I push the reactors that hard, we might have system failures. That is what the backup systems are for. Jake opened a communication channel to the entire ship. All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations, this is not a drill. Throughout the Defiance, crew members secured loose equipment and activated emergency systems. The ship's internal lighting changed to red combat illumination. Blast doors sealed off non-essential sections. Captain, Amy reported, the Corvin fleet is now in weapons range. Based on their energy signatures, they will be ready to fire in approximately 3 minutes. Danny, are our kinetic weapons ready? Yes, sir. All railguns are charged and loaded. I have target locks on the lead ships. Lisa, how are our engines? Running at optimal efficiency. I can give you emergency power if needed, but it will not be pretty. Jake looked at the tactical display. The 30 Corvin ships looked like a constellation of deadly stars. Their crystal hulls were beginning to glow as they charged their energy weapons. Amy, I need you to identify their command ship. Already done, Captain. The largest vessel in the center of their formation is Admiral Zethkar's flagship. It carries the most advanced weapons and the strongest shields. Then that is our primary target. Sir, Danny said quietly, are you sure about this? Their flagship probably has more armor than our entire ship weighs. Danny, what did your grandfather always tell you about fighting bigger opponents? He said to hit them where they do not expect it and keep hitting them until they stop moving. Exactly. Lisa, I need you to route emergency power to the forward railguns. Amy, plot an intercept course for their flagship. Danny, load armor-piercing rounds in all forward tubes. Jake's crew worked with the smooth efficiency of people who had trained together for years. They knew their captain was about to do something. That would probably get them all killed, but they trusted him completely. Captain, Lisa called out, I have emergency power standing by. But, sir, if we use maximum power for more than a few minutes, we risk reactor overload. How long can we maintain maximum power? Maybe 10 minutes before we start having serious problems. That will have to be enough. Jake strapped himself in too, his captain's chair, and activated the ship's combat systems. Around him, his bridge crew made final preparations for a battle that no human ship had ever fought before. The Corvan hegemony had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Their technology was superior, their tactics were proven, and their weapons could destroy planets. They had never lost a major battle, but they had never fought humans before. And humans had spent their entire history learning how to defeat opponents who were bigger, stronger, and better equipped. All stations report. Ready for combat, Jake announced. Weapons ready, Danny confirmed. Engineering ready, Lisa called out. Tactical analysis complete, Amy reported. Jake looked at the main screen one last time. In a few seconds, energy weapons capable of melting continents would be firing at his ship. The logical response would be to run away and hope for the best. But humans had never been particularly logical. They had a tendency to do stupid, impossible things just to prove they could. They had walked to the North Pole, climbed the highest mountains, and built rockets to reach the stars. Today, they were going to add defeating a superior alien fleet to that list of impossible achievements. Here we go, people, Jake said quietly. Let us show them what humans do when we are really angry. The first energy beams from the Corva. The first energy beam from the Corvan fleet hit the Defiance exactly where Admiral Zethkar intended it to hit. The brilliant blue-white energy should have cut through the human ship like a laser through paper. Instead, it struck layers of specially designed armor that had been welded to the hull by hand. Jake felt his ship shudder under the impact, but she kept flying. The ablative armor plates were doing their job, burning away and dissipating the energy instead of letting it penetrate to the ship's vital systems. Direct hit on our forward armor, Lisa reported from her engineering station. We lost about 2 meters of plating, but the inner hull is intact. Return fire, Danny. Give them something to think about. Aye, sir. Firing tubes 1 and 2. The railguns mounted along the Defiance's hull launched their first shots of the battle. Unlike the brilliant energy beams of the alien weapons, the kinetic projectiles were nearly invisible. They were just chunks of dense metal accelerated to tremendous speed by magnetic forces. The Corvan crews watched their targeting screens as 2 small objects flew toward their formation. The projectiles were moving fast, but not nearly as fast as energy weapons. Their point defense systems should have been able to destroy the primitive human ammunition easily. The first projectile struck the lead Corvan ship with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The solid metal slug punched through the crystalline armor like a bullet through glass, sending fragments of shattered crystal spinning through space. Direct hit on their lead ship, Amy announced from her tactical station. I am reading massive structural damage and power fluctuations. The second projectile missed its intended target, but struck another Corvan vessel in the engine section. The impact sent the alien ship spinning out of formation, its perfect crystal hull cracked and leaking atmosphere. Jake could see the Corvan fleet commanders trying to understand what had just happened. Energy weapons could be deflected by shields or absorbed by armor, but kinetic projectiles carried their energy in the form of motion, and there was no way to stop them except by getting out of the way. Danny, fire tubes 3 and 4. Cluster. Rounds. Firing now, sir. The cluster rounds were one of Danny's more creative designs. Each projectile contained dozens of smaller metal fragments that separated just before impact. Instead of one large hole, they created many smaller holes spread across a wide area. The cluster rounds struck 2 more Corvan ships, and suddenly, the alien formation was dealing with hundreds of high-speed metal fragments. Their point defense systems, designed to target single energy beams, could not track and destroy so many small objects at once. Captain, Amy called out, their formation is starting to break up. They are trying to compensate for the damage to their lead ships. Good. Lisa, give me more power to the railguns. Danny, load the EMP rounds. Sir, Lisa warned, if I push the reactors any harder, we risk overheating. Do it anyway. We need to keep them off balance. The Corvin fleet was beginning to realize that they were facing something completely outside their experience. Admiral Zethkar's perfect formation was dissolving as damaged ships fell out of position and others tried to compensate. All ships maintain formation, Zethkar ordered over the Corvin communication network. Focus fire on the human vessel. Destroy it immediately. But the human vessel was not behaving like any enemy ship they had ever fought. Instead of trying to avoid the Corvin energy weapons, it was flying directly toward their formation while firing continuously. "Captain," Danny reported, "they are concentrating fire on us. I count 15 ships targeting our position." Evasive maneuvers. Lisa. Implement Protocol Crazy. Protocol Crazy was Jake's name for a battle plan that involved deliberately damaging his own ship to confuse the enemy. Lisa had spent months installing fake systems throughout the Defiance that could be destroyed to create the appearance of critical damage. "Implementing Protocol Crazy," Lisa announced. She triggered a series of controlled explosions throughout the ship's hull. Steam vented from ruptured cooling lines, sparks flew from overloaded circuits, and several external sensors went dark. To the Corvin observers, the human ship appeared to be dying, hull breaches were venting atmosphere, power systems were failing, and the vessel was trailing debris as it continued its attack run. "Sir," Amy said with a grin, "the Corvin fleet thinks we are crippled. They are moving closer to finish us off." "Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted them to do." The Corvin ships closed in around the apparently dying human vessel. Admiral Zethkar prepared to deliver the killing blow personally. This would be the moment when the galaxy learned that the Corvin hegemony was still invincible. Danny. Fire. Tubes 5 and 6. EMP rounds. The electromagnetic pulse warheads were another of Danny's creative solutions to fighting superior technology. Instead of trying to destroy the alien ships with kinetic energy, they were designed to disrupt the electronic systems that controlled everything on a Corvin vessel. The EMP rounds detonated in the middle of the alien formation, creating a massive pulse of electromagnetic energy. The effect on the Corvin ships was immediate and devastating. "Captain," Amy reported with excitement, "I am reading massive system failures across their fleet. Their targeting computers are down, their communication systems are offline, and several ships have lost attitude control." The perfect Corvin formation dissolved into chaos. Ships that had relied on computer guidance to maintain position were now drifting randomly through space. Vessels that had coordinated their attacks through electronic networks were now isolated and confused. "Lisa, how are our systems?" "All green, Captain. Our electronics are hardened against EMP, and our backup systems are still functioning normally." This was another advantage of human redundancy. The Defiance had been designed to keep fighting even when most of its systems were damaged or destroyed. The Corvin ships, with their elegant integrated technology, were helpless when their primary systems failed. "Danny, switch to kinetic penetrators. Target their disabled ships." "Aye, sir. I have clear shots on 5 vessels that have lost maneuvering control." The railguns fired again and again, sending streams of metal projectiles into the confused Corvin formation. Each hit sent fragments of crystal armor spinning through space and created new holes in alien hulls. But Jake knew that the EMP effect would not last long. The Corvin ships were already beginning to recover, their backup systems coming online and restoring partial control. "Amy, how long before they can fight back?" "Maybe 3 minutes before their weapons are fully operational." "Again, then we need to do maximum damage in the next 3 minutes. Lisa, give me everything the engines have." "Captain, if I push the reactors any harder, we will start having real system failures, not just fake ones." "Do it." Lisa redirected power from life support, artificial gravity, and every non-essential system to the engines and weapons. The Defiance accelerated toward the center of the Corvin formation like a missile, firing every weapon that could be brought to bear. The ship's internal lighting flickered as power systems were pushed beyond their design limits. The artificial, Gravity failed in several sections, leaving crew members floating as they worked at their stations. Emergency alarms sounded throughout the vessel. "Captain," Danny called out, "I am getting warnings on all weapon systems. We are pushing them too hard. How many more shots can we get?" "Maybe 6 or 7 before we start having misfires. Make them count." The Defiance flew through the heart of the enemy formation, its weapons blazing. Kinetic projectiles punched through crystal armor, while energy from damaged Corvan ships lit up the darkness of space. 3 more alien vessels were destroyed or disabled before their fleet finally began to recover from the electromagnetic pulse attack. As their targeting systems came back online, Admiral Zethkar realized what had happened. The human ship had not been dying at all. It had been deliberately creating the appearance of critical damage while moving into position for a devastating attack. The venting atmosphere and sparking electronics had all been part of an elaborate deception. "All ships, target the human vessel," Zethkar ordered. "Maximum firepower. Destroy it now." But as the Corvan energy weapons began to fire again, they discovered another problem. The battle had filled the surrounding space with debris from damaged ships, metallic chaff from human cluster rounds, and electromagnetic interference from the EMP attacks. Their sophisticated targeting systems, designed to work in the clean environment of deep space, were having trouble acquiring locks on the human ship. The Defiance was flying through a cloud of interference that made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. "Captain," Amy reported, "they are trying to target us, but their accuracy is down by at least 60%. "Good. Danny, do we have any more surprises ready?" "Yes, sir. Tubes 7 and 8 are loaded with my special ammunition." "What exactly is in tubes 7 and 8? Danny grinned. "Well, sir, you know how the Corvan ships repair themselves using crystalline nanobots?" "Yes. I figured out how to make nanobots that eat crystal instead of repairing it." Jake stared at his weapons officer. "You built ammunition that dissolves their ships?" "Yes, sir. It should work like acid on their hull armor." "Danny, you are either brilliant or completely insane." "Thank you, sir. I choose to take that as a compliment. Fire tubes 7 and 8. The nanobotic ammunition struck 2 Corvan ships and immediately began to spread across their crystal hulls like a metallic. The Defiance was dying, and everyone on board knew it. Steam poured from ruptured coolant lines, sparks cascaded from overloaded. Control panels and the deck plates vibrated with dangerous harmonics from the overstressed reactor cores. But Captain Jake Martinez was not ready to give up. "Lisa, give me a damage report," he ordered, while holding on to his captain's chair as another energy beam shook the ship. "Sir, we have real hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. The number 2. Reactor is running at 120% of maximum safe power. Our primary navigation computer is offline, and we have lost 3 of our main railgun batteries." Jake nodded. The fake damage from Protocol Crazy was now mixed with genuine destruction from Corvan energy weapons. But his ship was still flying, still fighting, and still making the enemy pay for every hit. "Danny, what is our ammunition status?" "Running low on everything, Captain. I have maybe 6 shots left in the kinetic penetrators, 4 EMP rounds, and 2 of my nanobotic special loads." Amy, tactical analysis. The Corvan fleet has lost 8 ships completely destroyed and 5 more heavily damaged. But they are adapting to our tactics. Admiral Zethkar is pulling his remaining vessels into a defensive formation that limits our attack angles. Jake studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was no longer the perfect formation that had entered human space. Instead, it looked like a wounded animal, still dangerous, but finally showing respect for its opponent. But respect would not be enough. Jake needed something more dramatic to tip the balance of this battle. He needed to do something so unexpected that the Corvan commanders would have no prepared response. "Lisa, I need you to prepare for emergency reactor overload." "Sir?" Lisa's voice showed her confusion. "You want me to deliberately overload our reactors?" "Not to explode. I want you to channel all that excess energy into our weapon systems for one massive attack. Captain, that could destroy our entire power grid. If the energy surge is too much for our systems to handle, we could lose everything. And if we do not try something dramatic, we are going to lose everything anyway when those 22 ships finish reorganizing their attack. Lisa looked at her engineering displays and ran quick calculations in her head. What Jake was asking for was technically possible, but it violated every safety protocol in the human fleet. Sir, I can route emergency power through the main weapon grid, but we will only get one shot. After that, we will need at least 15 minutes to reset all the circuit breakers and restart the power systems. How much damage could we do with one shot? If I channel the full output of both reactors through the railgun system, we could fire every remaining kinetic round simultaneously. It would be like turning our entire ship into one giant weapon. Jake smiled. This was exactly the kind of insane plan that humans excelled at. Take a desperate situation, add dangerous amounts of energy, and see what happened. Do it. Aye, sir. But, Captain, once I start this process, there is no stopping it. We will have maybe 30 seconds before the energy buildup becomes critical. Understood. Danny, I need you to target every disabled or damaged Corvin ship. We are going to finish them all at once. Sir, that is a lot of targets. I will need to use the backup targeting computer and manual fire control. Can you do it? Give me 20 seconds and I can put a kinetic round into anything you want destroyed. Amy looked up from her tactical station. Captain, if we take out all the damaged ships at once, the remaining Corvin vessels will be scattered across a wide area. Their formation will be completely broken. That is the idea. Amy, I need you to plot an escape route that takes us through the debris field from the destroyed ships. An escape route? Sir, are we retreating? No. We are going to use the debris as cover while we reset our power systems. Then we are going to come back and finish this fight. Jake opened a ship-wide communication channel. All hands, this is the captain. In 60 seconds, we are going to fire every weapon we have in one coordinated attack. After that, all power will be offline for approximately 15 minutes. He paused, listening to the sounds of his damaged ship. Emergency alarms were ringing in the distance. Crew members were shouting damage reports, and the deck was shaking from impacts of Corvin energy weapons. I know this ship looks like it is falling apart. I know we are outnumbered and outgunned, but we have something the enemy does not have. We have the ability to keep fighting even when everything is broken. Jake could see his crew working at their stations despite the chaos around them. Lisa was rerouting power through systems that were never designed to handle such energy loads. Danny was manually calculating firing solutions because the main computer had failed. Amy was plotting navigation courses using a backup system that was older than she was. People, we are about to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. We are going to take the most advanced fleet in known space and beat them with spare parts and stubbornness. Captain, Lisa called out, I am ready to begin the power transfer. Once I start, we have 30 seconds before everything overloads. Danny, are your targeting solutions ready? Yes, sir. I have locks on 13 damaged Corvin ships. If we fire everything at once, I can probably take out most of their disabled vessels. Amy, is our escape route plotted? Yes, sir. I can get us through the debris field and behind that large piece of wreckage from their first ship we destroyed. Jake took a deep breath. What he was about to do would either win the battle or get everyone on his ship killed. But doing nothing would definitely get them killed, so the choice was easy. Lisa, begin power transfer. Starting now, sir. Redirecting power from all non-essential systems. The lights on the bridge dimmed as massive amounts of energy flowed from the reactor cores to the weapon systems. Jake could hear the deep thrumming sound of power conduits being pushed far beyond their design limits. 20 seconds until critical. Overload, Lisa announced. Danny, are the weapons charged? All railguns showing maximum power, sir. I have never seen energy readings this high. 15 seconds. Jake watched the tactical display as the Corvan fleet continued to close in on his position. Admiral Zethkar was bringing his remaining ships into a formation that would allow them to focus all their firepower on the human vessel. 10 seconds. Amy, prepare for emergency acceleration on my command. Ready, sir? 5 seconds. Danny, fire everything. The HSS Defiance unleashed hell. Every functional railgun on the ship fired simultaneously, sending a storm of kinetic projectiles toward the damaged Corvan vessels. The energy discharge was so massive that it created a brief artificial aurora around the human ship. The effect on the enemy fleet was devastating. 13 Corvan ships, already weakened by previous attacks, were struck by high-velocity metal projectiles that punched through their compromised hulls like bullets through paper. Explosions blossomed throughout the alien formation as reactor cores were breached and ammunition stores detonated. The perfect crystal ships that had seemed invincible just minutes before were reduced to spinning wreckage and expanding clouds of debris. Direct hits on all targets, Danny reported with satisfaction. 13 ships destroyed. Lisa, shut down. All weapons. Emergency power to engines. Shutting down weapon systems now. We have maybe 2 minutes before everything goes dark. Jake watched as his massive attack tore through the heart of the Corvan fleet. Where there had been 30 perfect warships at the start of the battle, there were now only 9 functional vessels scattered across a wide area. Amy, execute escape maneuver. The Defiance accelerated toward the debris field created by the destroyed Corvan ships. The human vessel disappeared into a cloud of twisted metal and crystal fragments, just as its power systems finally overloaded and shut down. Admiral Zethkar watched in disbelief as the primitive human ship vanished into the wreckage of his fleet. In less than 20 minutes of combat, he had lost 21 warships to a single enemy vessel that looked like it had been built in a scrapyard. All ships, form up on my position, he ordered the survivors. Begin search pattern for the human vessel. But as the remaining Corvan ships moved through the debris field, they found no trace of their enemy. The Defiance had shut down all systems and was drifting silently among the wreckage of the destroyed alien vessels. On the darkened bridge of the human ship, Jake sat in his captain's chair and listened to the sounds of his crew working by emergency. Lighting. They were repairing damaged systems, resetting circuit breakers, and preparing to restart the reactor cores. How long until we have power back? He asked quietly. Another 10 minutes, Lisa replied from somewhere in the darkness. But, sir, when we restart, they are going to detect us immediately. That is fine. 10 minutes should be enough time for them to make their fatal mistake. Which is? They are going to come looking for us in the debris field, and when they do, they are going to learn why humans are so good at ambush tactics. Jake smiled in the darkness. The first phase of the battle was over, and humanity had survived. Now it was time for Phase 2, where the hunters became the hunted. Jake Morrison checked the fuel readings on his cargo ship Blue Ridge one more time. The numbers looked good. He had enough power to reach Mars Station with supplies and make it back to Earth without any problems. This was his 3rd run this month, and he knew the route well. The space between Earth and Mars looked empty as always. Just black space filled with tiny dots of distant stars. Jake had been flying cargo ships for 5 years now, and he still found the silence peaceful. No traffic, no crowds, just him and his ship moving through the void. He was halfway to Mars when his ship's alarm started beeping. Jake looked at his screen and saw a red warning light. Something big was approaching fast. Very fast. Too fast to be another human ship. Jake pressed buttons on his control panel to get more information. The object was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than his cargo ship. It was shaped like nothing he had ever seen before. Long and curved with strange bumps along its sides. The metal looked different too, almost like it was flowing. What the hell is that thing? Jake said to himself. He tried to contact Mars Station on his radio. Mars Station, this is Blue Ridge. I have an unknown object approaching my position. Please respond. Only static came back through his speakers. Jake tried again. Mars Station. Blue Ridge here. I need help. There's something out here. Still, nothing. The strange ship was getting closer. Jake could see lights moving along its surface. Blue and green lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. His cargo ship suddenly started shaking, not from engine problems, but from some kind of force. Coming from the other ship, Jake grabbed his controls and tried to turn away. The Blue Ridge would not respond. The steering was dead. The engines were dead. Even his radio was dead now. Something was holding his ship in place. A bright light shot out from the strange ship and surrounded the Blue Ridge. Jake felt his body getting heavy. His eyes wanted to close. He fought against the feeling, but it was too strong. The last thing he saw before everything went black was the strange ship getting bigger and bigger as his cargo ship was pulled toward it. Jake woke up in a small room with smooth gray walls. The room had no windows and only one door. A soft blue light came from the ceiling, but he could not see where it came from. The air smelled different here, like metal and something else he could not name. He sat up and touched his head. It hurt, but not too badly. His clothes were the same ones he had been wearing on his ship. Someone had taken his radio and his tools, but left everything else. Jake stood up and walked to the door. It had no handle or buttons, just smooth metal like the walls. He pushed on it, but nothing happened. He hit it with his fist and called out, "Hey, someone let me out of here!" No answer came. Jake looked around the room more carefully. It was about the size of his bedroom back on Earth. There was a bed against one wall, but it looked strange. The mattress was too thin, and the frame was made of the same gray metal as everything else. In one corner was a small table with something that might be food on it. He walked over to look at the food. It was a bowl filled with small cubes that were white and yellow. They smelled okay, not bad, but not good either. Jake was hungry, but he did not want to eat alien food. What if it was poison? What if it made him sick? The door made a sound like air escaping, and then it slid open. Jake turned around quickly. A creature walked into the room that made Jake's heart beat fast. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with long, thin arms and legs. Its skin was light blue and looked smooth like rubber. It had 2 eyes that were much bigger than human eyes, and they were completely black. No white parts at all. Its head was larger than a human head and shaped more like an egg. The creature wore clothes that looked like they were made from the same material as the walls, gray and smooth. It carried something in its hand that might be a tool or a weapon. Jake backed against the wall. "What do you want? Where am I?" The creature looked at him for a long moment. Then it made sounds that were not words. They were more like music, but sad music, high and low notes that went up and down. Another creature came into the room. This one was shorter and had darker blue skin. It carried a flat rectangle that glowed with different colors. The first creature made more musical sounds, and the second one touched the glowing rectangle. Suddenly, Jake heard words, but not from their mouths. The words came from the glowing rectangle. "You are safe. We will not hurt you. You are here for study." Jake stared at the creatures. Study? What kind of study? The first creature made more sounds. The rectangle said, "You are from the 3rd planet of this star system. We have not seen your kind before. We wish to learn about you." "My kind? You mean humans?" "Humans. Yes, that is what you call yourselves." Jake's mind was racing. These were aliens, real aliens, and they had captured him like he was some kind of animal. "You can't just take people. I have a job. People will look for me." The creatures made sounds to each other. The rectangle stayed quiet during their conversation. Then the first creature looked at Jake again. "Your people do not travel far from your world. They will not find you here. You will stay with us while we learn." "For how long?" "Until we know what we need to know." Jake felt anger building in his chest. I'm not some lab. Rat, I'm a person. I have rights. The creatures made more sounds to each other. Jake could tell they were talking about him, but the rectangle did not translate their private conversation. The second creature touched the rectangle again. Rights. We do not understand this word in your context. You are a specimen. Specimens do not have rights. Specimen? Jake's voice got louder. I'm not a specimen. I'm a human being. Yes, a human specimen. Jake realized these creatures did not see him as an equal. To them, he was just another animal they had collected, like a bug in a jar or a fish in a tank. The first creature made a long series of sounds. The rectangle translated. You will eat the food we give you. You will answer our questions. You will perform tasks we ask you to do. If you cooperate, you will be comfortable. If you do not cooperate, you will be uncomfortable. And if I refuse to do any of it? The creatures looked at each other. The second one touched the rectangle. Refusal is not possible. You will cooperate. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. These aliens were much more advanced than humans. Their ship was huge and powerful. Their technology was beyond anything Earth had, and they saw him as nothing more than a thing to be studied. But Jake Morrison had not survived 5 years of dangerous cargo runs by giving up easily. He would cooperate for now, but he would also watch and learn. Maybe these aliens were advanced, but they had made one mistake. They thought humans were just another primitive species. They were about to find out how wrong they were.